files were sent out for the wash sales and the tax lots. And I wanted to get an update from the group if anyone has been able to review, and if so, are there any issues or questions pertaining to those files that were sent? And I think, Will, you were the one that had sent them along. Okay, let me pull up the email to see who he sent them to, if anyone was able to take a look at them.
This is Mark Kelly from SmartLeaf. We received the files from Secure Message because the connection to the SFTP Dropbox was not completed at that point in time. We processed those files and we found that there were two issues, and we sent, I had Bob Kinley send the feedback that one of the files was missing a column and another file, the data was not quite right. There were minor issues, but we sent that feedback back.
Okay. Yeah, and I've got that. So Gopal, we need to connect later, just next steps with respect to file creation. So appreciate the feedback, and we'll make the changes we need to make, and just obviously reiterating that's the entire point of this exercise is to identify things we need to clean up, and so it's good that we were able to get some good feedback from Bob quickly, so we'll get right to work.
This is Mark Tarking.
Okay, and Will, that's you and Gopal going to be working on that?
Yes.
Is there an ETA that you think that you'd be able to turn that around just so that we can set expectations?
I think definitely the end of the week, if not sooner than that.
Okay. Sounds good. So the next steps are to turn the file around or remediate. And then if the files are successful, what are the next steps after that? Other than verifying that it works. Is there anything that we have to do with that beyond that?
We have to-dos in the file content. So basically we think about content and then layouts. So that right now we're really just getting our layouts in order, and obviously that's the skeleton of everything here. So Gopal and I will remediate those things. It should not take very long. The next real meat of these both wash sale and holdings file is applying the bin mapping changes that BBVA communicated to us. So that's going to change the content of the file, and then furthermore we still are dependent on a Mach 2 implementation on accounts and their holdings, which I know Linda and Jared are running with. And so once we have holdings for the sub accounts, that will also become part of the testing, in the sense of we want to make sure we're picking up the SmartLeaf accounts. This first test file was keying off of an BBVA account cross-reference mapping document or table. There were accounts. There were accounts that were not part of, that will not be part of SmartLeaf, but were part of the SmartLeaf test file just because of what we were keying off of. So 2 deliverables: bin mapping, methodology refinement, and account selection refinement based on built out of the account process.
Okay. Linda, anything to add to that? Or thoughts?
About the holdings extract or about posting holdings?
About the account holdings part of it.
Yeah, posting holdings as part of the Mach 2 and data conversion, I think we're in a good spot. I think Jared and Lori and Tim met with us last week, and within 24 hours turned around a very simple plan for Posting Holdings, which I have not had a chance to check in that Streca, but should be pretty straightforward. So we hope to get some sort of a holdings report with sub-accounts on it out to business in the next day or two.
Okay, thank you. All right, next agenda item was in terms of discussion for, because last week we had a discussion about cash and non-cash equivalent holding with accounts and sub-accounts. And I would assume that the discussion you just had covered that up or reviewed that we're in a good position with that, Linda, is that correct? Or is there anything outstanding from the discussion last week that still needs to be resolved or discussed?
For Posting the Holdings. I keep going back. People keep trying to throw 3 different holdings things at me, and I'm really only running with the posting of the holdings. So yes, I feel good about the posting of the holdings.
Okay.
Which, yeah, and then that becomes we'll be ready to pick that up. So, I mean, we're not, really held up by anything, Linda, obviously.
Yeah. You're doing right. There's 3 different conversations. Will, I'm very good with what you're doing to get a test file out. Love the fact that even if we give them more data than what we have, that's fine. I'm going to make sure we get holdings posted as cleanly as possible. We need to get sub-accounts stood up. So those 2 things are in process, and I feel good. And then the last one is, what does the production holdings extract criteria look like? And I don't think I can weigh in there until everybody else feels comfortable about what they're doing for prod. But for testing, you're on your merry way.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess Will, just wanted to follow up with you on the bid mapping. Tim and I did take a quick look yesterday at the file that you provided after speaking with BBVA folks, and they suggested, as you had suggested, which is to map the major minor codes to the Smart Leaf bins. You pointed out there are a number of outstanding sort of mappings that need to be done. So I just wanted to mention, Tim and I put together some ideas, but really had more questions than definitive answers. So just wanted to see what you think the next steps are there for completing that bin mapping.
Yeah, I think we should probably just review it. Maybe we can use some time later today. And I think we would just want to get just demonstrate what we're doing for Bill Monona and Phil, and just kind of get here's what we're doing, and get that kind of sign off, and then we can incorporate it into the requirements.
Okay, and I guess the backside of that is when we're testing in Smart Leaf, we'll want to ensure that what Brett had suggested, which is that there will not be significant drift by mapping the bins to the major minor codes instead of the assets to the assets to the bins. We don't expect there to be significant drift by sort of rechanging the mapping that's happening from today versus what we're creating. So we just want to validate that. I believe we'll want to validate that in Smart Leaf once that Smart Leaf is up and running. We'll want to validate that the changes that we're making in the mappings don't materially affect the drift that the models are seeing.
Yeah, that's fair.
That was Jared Cohen talking.
Okay. Next item. This is to you, Tracy, that you had some outstanding questions and you've got some answers, but I was wondering if you want to share your screen to go over them to make sure that we're all in alignment on those.
Matthew was talking.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten through all the responses from Linda and Steve yet this morning. And I apologize, this did not go out to Smart Leaf because I think most of the items were internally to PNC. So basically, I mean, this is just the start of my questions, and they're going to keep coming as we get through the project plan and we get through each section of the plan that is broken down into pieces of really integration points is how I've broken it down. the project plan into details. Basically, this first one is we're answered because we're into QA with single sign-off, with no issues, and we just need to work on production at the time that we need to. The second one's around, we have to build out what I call a test strategy plan for just SmartLeaf. So basically, all the integration points we have to build out the full plan, just not what we're going to do for Mach 2 and Mach 3, but for all the integration points that go in and out of SmartLeaf and all the connections to Charles River. So we have to build that plan out, what we're going to be testing to ensure that we have a successful implementation in October. So more to come on that one. Tax lot ID, this is where we're going to be adding that into the Swift message, which is the 543s. That's on the sell side of those messages that will go into AM Trust. We need to test that and determine, because currently we do that for our PCA accounts, and we need to determine if there's any impacts there. But Charles River said they're going to be able to break that out, where we're only going to put that on the SmartLeaf accounts. But Linda, I know that you have a question around currently the trade. We're trading at a lot level, but not at the detail level. So I need to go back to PCA and just get you the final answer for this one.
What's the question, Tracy? We do not send the
Trade at the top slot level.
Yeah, we trade at the trade level, but it gets applied in AM Trust based on the AM Trust rules of FIFO, LIFO, whatever they are. So at the account setting, not coming from Charles River. There's no lot identifier currently in Charles River.
Right, and so we're only adding that on those SmartLeaf accounts.
That's correct.
So this will become, the decision that's where we're only going to do the SmartLeaf accounts and not PCA accounts.
That's correct.
Okay. This one. So I think this is around profiles. We already have the firm portfolio administrator's role set up. I don't think there's any issues there. We just need to get the business to some training. Yep. Sorry.
Could I back up a step?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just heard that Charles River was not going to be trading by the tax lot ID. So, and if that's the case,
that's not the case. That's not currently.
That's for a different set of accounts. Mark. For the accounts that are going to Charles River out of SmartLeaf, we will be trading at the lot level. There is an existing set of accounts that we refer to as PCA that get traded through Charles River. They don't currently do it at the lot level, and as Tracy was asking, they're not going to be brought into this at the lot level.
Okay.
And we will also be including the lot level in Charles River as part of the feed from
AmTrust.
Okay. Sorry for the confusion. Sorry.
PCA, there's no change.
No, that's a good question. I mean, my concern is that we're not impacting, and we'll have to do regression testing with Charles River to make sure we're not impacting any other accounts that are being traded in Charles River.
Right, you'll have to make sure the PCA accounts still execute in the way that they should, and that the new trade lot, specified lot trade goes as it should for the SmartLeaf accounts.
Yeah, and remember, we're going to send the trade with the lot identifier from SmartLeaf into Charles River as part of the import. So the trade will have that lot ID on it, whereas any of the existing trades will not with PCA. I don't know if that helps, but separate them. You're right. We need this.
So good. PCA remains status quo. Charles River will get the lot ID, just like SmartLeaf will get the lot ID. And when SmartLeaf sends the trade to Charles River, it will give them a lot ID. And when Charles River sends it back to AmTrust as an executed trade, they'll send it to AmTrust with the lot ID. And life will be amazingly wonderful.
All right, moving on to number 4. My question, again, I apologize for asking a lot of questions because I'm still just coming up to speed with SmartLeaf, but my understanding is we set up a firm portfolio administrator role for the 4 testers. Are there going to be other roles that we are going to be using? If so, we might want to think about setting up the 4 users for each different role in our testing. It might not be needed for Mach 2 testing, but as our overall testing, we might want to think about that.
I think we're going to need to set up users who actually have experience with Smartleaf, with whatever profile
Kevin,
they have.
I think we're going to, and even have Brett Falkenhagen involved in that too.
Yeah.
I know he's out this week, but it would be a tremendous help if he also was set up and guided us through that process.
Correct.
So is this something the business can own and to get that all clarified and let us know what the outcome is? What we're going to do for Mach 2? Bill? Kevin?
Yeah, I think we need to have start by having a conversation with Brett and others at BBVA today that can be part of that testing, as Kevin alluded to. Definitely.
Okay, and then next one is, will the loading of SmartLeap accounts for BBVA be a part of the mock runs? Again, not knowing much about mock runs, and my understanding is we will likely not reapply them for Mach 3. So yes, there will be a load of the BBVA accounts into SmartLeap as part of the conversion weekend. Is that true? Does everybody agree with that?
It would be ideal if we could do that.
I think we have to have a discussion around that one, a larger discussion, because we have to make sure that the data is loaded from the BBVA SmartLeap version into the PNC SmartLeap version, and I think they're working on it, but Melissa has to provide the timing on that.
I think this has to be part of Mach 2 and Mach 3, because that's something you're going to have to do conversion weekend, right? Is to understand that those accounts are getting loaded correctly. And
you're right, Tracy. It has to be part of Mach 2. Absolutely. If it goes well in Mach 2, then it doesn't have to be part of Mach 3. And are we talking about, like, when we say the loading of SmartLeaf accounts, this is where we give SmartLeaf the account number, the account cross-reference file, and they replace existing SmartLeaf account 0201 with PNC account 677.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that, Linda. That's an absolute must, that we need to have it in the new PNC account. It would be ideal if it's a mirror version of existing accounts with the new account.
Yeah, but what I thought I heard SmartLeaf say, Bill, I'm sorry to talk over you. I thought what I heard SmartLeaf saying months ago was they don't actually, like, the concept of renumbering isn't something they actually do, but they have a cross-reference file where they'll just add our account number to so for our SmartLeaf partners, can you tell us if we've gone widely astray here on the PNC side for this effort for SmartLeaf?
No, we just need.
The
map. We need the mapping and what day you're going to do it, right?
Yeah, we can give you a sample of that cross-reference right now. We're going to cut over on our side on August 13th. So we would want you to do something in that same general time frame. And Tracy, here's where I don't want to overstep. Like, I don't believe that testing SmartLeaf is a day 0 event. I do believe getting this cross-reference to SmartLeaf partners is a day 0 event. I do believe getting the holdings booked here on AmTrust is a day 0 event. But to validate the cross-reference was applied correctly and to be able to look into SmartLeaf, that would be what I would call a day 1 event. So it could be easily that Monday or any day after August 13th, as long as it's inside of the Mach 2 cycle.
Agreed.
Okay. So we can certainly target... Oh.
No, I'm sorry, and just if I'm thinking about this correctly, which I may or may not be, I think we would need to get SmartLeaf the consolidated account number, because for Charles Rivers purposes, they'll care about the sub account, but for SmartLeaf, the primary key from an account perspective will be the consolidated, since we'll be sending holdings to SmartLeaf at that level.
Yep, good, valid point. Very valid point.
So if we could just get that prior to you sending a data load, that would be the most effective.
If we can get you a sample of it today so you can see it and have it, we'd want to send you a copy that is part of our conversion event on the 13th, because we create a new account master cross-reference with each mock.
Right. And all I'm suggesting is that we need to get the reading prior to you sending the holdings for your mock event. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
That has to come first.
Yep. So we'd want to send you that cross-reference that you're looking for on Saturday the 13th. And then the first holdings file, my expectation would be that it would come to you the Monday night out of our QA batch stream.
Okay. That sounds
Does
good.
that feel like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, Tracy, we could look at, Tuesday being the first day that business can actually start trying a day in the life or day one or whatever you want to call that test.
And Linda, there's something that came up in this discussion when we were connecting EFX pipes, is that you're going to be sending a renumbering file like once a quarter.
Do you want to let Tracy get through her questions first, and then we can talk about renumbering? Can get a little quirky.
Well, we talked about that a little bit this morning with the business, so we can discuss it now or we can wait. Yeah. So if Will or Bill want to talk to that, we can right now.
I don't need to dig into the details. My only point was going to be that this is a new item that we were not aware of that has some significance to it that needs to be plugged into the schedule here somewhere.
So I can just tell you real quickly that it's not as part of the conversion. It's not a priority. It will be a post-conversion activity.
Okay.
And I don't have Joe D on here, but let me explain to you what account renumbering is. Sadly, in our space, we have some logic built into the account number, which happens to be the key of the account master file. So every now and then, when an account has to realign with a geography or a business segment, if they move from here to there, sometimes we'll need to renumber their accounts. We're working hard to not have to do that going forward, but we're not in a place now where that can stop. So it does happen quarterly. I think once we've onboarded, it's October 8th. So I don't think we'd have a renumbering until January. So I definitely think this could be something that we talk about after we convert. And I do appreciate that it's something you haven't been given a heads up on. You may have some development to do there, but Bill's got some deep wallets, so just send him what the cost will be and he'll pay for it.
Okay. Sounds good.
Hopefully Bill is chuckling.
Bill, Minona, any other comments from the business on account renumbering from our discussion this morning?
I completely agree. It's something we should just put off until post conversion.
Okay. So I am taking this off of my project plan, not something we're going to address going forward. The only account renumbering is the cross-reference files we need to do as part of conversion, getting them to the PCA accounts.
I just want to confirm that the new mapping and data is going to be marked data is going to be loaded in preview platform, right, Mark?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
You're talking about the QA platform?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
Okay.
I just think it's important to note that the data we, PNC, will be receiving on August 13th, August 14th, will be production data. So very good.
That's PNC.
And then I had you as a takeaway, Linda, or I don't know if it's you or Linda or somebody else, will provide them a sample of the cross-reference file.
Yeah, that could be me.
Okay.
I'll make it somebody else, but for right now, it can be me.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else on the mock runs? The Smart Leaf account's getting loaded for mock 2, and that's, I'm sure Sean's got that built into the run book. Okay. The OIM recon file for mock 2 and mock 3. Steve, if you want to provide comments here, but this is not going to be a part of the mock runs. It's not a critical file that we need to reconcile for our OIM entitlements. But we will have this entitlement set up.
Yeah, we're working on the entitlements now. We've been meeting with the OIM team, with Bill Manone and team, and again, not required for the mock runs.
OIM.
Okay.
And thank God you're saying.
And Steve, recon is not going to be part of. It's going to be day 2, right?
It's going to be a day 2 item. You know, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to deal with that in between, but yeah, we just don't have the time to get that in time for the go live. So we'll target the date, but again, it's not critical to go live. So.
But I think the important thing to say, Steve, is for some time period between go live and when we do have the automated recon in play, there will likely be a need for business to do some sort of some semblance of a manual recon.
Manual, yep.
And tech will have to carry a risk. So double whammy, business is going to have to do something manually. We're going to have to talk about a risk on a regular basis. So we'll want to get it done as soon as possible. But I do appreciate, Steve, that you're going to move forward and we'll just carry the risk.
Okay. Trade orders to AM Trust is on the logical diagram as this for conversion. So I don't know.
This is the meat. This is the meat of what we're doing with SmartLeaf, Tracy. So, tax lot file goes up to Charles River. A tax lot file goes over to SmartLeaf. SmartLeaf has all this great tax optimization in it, and they go, "Oh gosh, we've got some great orders for these folks to minimize gains, maximize gains, whatever now I'm just being stupid, but for whatever the purpose is for that account and the right investment tax optimization is, a trade file daily, maybe multiple times a day, is going to come out of SmartLeaf. That is going to go up to Charles River. SmartLeaf will have the lot number. SmartLeaf will send Charles River the trades. Charles River will have the lot number. Charles River on this daily, semi-daily, multiple times a day basis will be taking these trades and sending them up to AmTrust as executed trades, just like they do today with their other stuff.
Hey, Linda, I think what she is referring to specifically is there's a great outline going from EFX down to AmTrust, and it was, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Tracy.
Oh, I see. That was there because
that was like the backup
if somebody could, if Charles River couldn't get us the lot number, Tracy.
Yeah.
But I think it sounds like Kevin and Bill are very comfortable that Charles River is going to get us the lot number. So I think that's just a line we're going to ask Kevin Comstock to erase.
Yeah, remove that. It sounds like we can remove that.
Thank you, Kevin, for clarifying. Tracy, my apologies.
No, that's good. That's the reason why we're having this conversation, so I make sure that we have all the integration points that are needed and remove
I love that you're calling things out on the logical on the design. I do.
Okay. This is my Bible right now. This is how I'm getting through.
It's so nice too, though. It's like a sanity check. I think the rest of us have been looking at this, that our eyeballs are crossing every time we look at it. You're a brand new, fresh set of eyes. So thank you.
A Kevin to do. All right. Moving right along here. Number 8 on trade order file from SmartLeaf to Charles River Solution. These are the 3 ways. So the question was the trade order file. There's 3 options. We don't know exactly which option we're supposed to be using. So the options are the SmartLeaf would send the file directly to Charles River for the trade order file. The second option is that SmartLeaf would send it to PNC, and then PNC would just use it as a pass-through to Charles River. Or 2, does the trade order file need to be consumed within IRW once we receive it and then send it on to Charles River? So
Leave it
we're
to
looking
last
for a solution here.
Tracy, I think the last option you just mentioned is for SmartLeap to land it into IRW, and then we will send it to PNC. Will send it to Charles River.
So there is a reason that we need to, for later, something maybe later down the road, that IRW needs to be aware of these trade order files and will be consumed maybe somewhere else, or we just need to have them in our database.
Yeah, I think the general protocol, Tracy, is we are not in a position where anybody is comfortable with PNC vendors sending data directly to another PNC vendor. That's come back to do us harm, particularly very recently. So,
well, the question was then 2 or 3, you need to, we use it as a pass-through, or do we consume it?
We want to consume it so we have it so we can see it in case there's ever any sort of a trade issue that comes up, and we'll have it to research.
I think the idea here was, to take a copy and consume it, and then take the exact same copy without modifying it in any way and shoot it right over to Charles River.
Sounds like a great plan.
Good. We'll get those tasks on the storyboard and get that written that way.
And do we also send that copy to AmTrust?
No. So, unless someone sees the need, but that wasn't the original plan. The original plan, SmartLeaf is going to build it to Charles River spec. They'll send it to us. We'll consume it in IRW for our purposes, and then shoot that right back out unmodified to Charles River.
And the reason AmTrust doesn't need it, Dar, is because once Charles River executes the trades, just like in many other instances, AmTrust will only get the copy of the trade after execution, and they'll get it directly from Charles River.
Oh, okay. So SmartLeaf is not gonna. AmTrust is not gonna have any inbound files from SmartLeaf then.
Unless we start talking about recon, I believe that is correct.
Okay.
Which is the next subject.
Bing. Follow the yellow brick road.
I think we talked about this a little bit this morning as well with my meeting with the business. Is the reconcilement just a conversion task or a daily one between SmartLeaf, Charles River, and AmTrust? My understanding from our discussion this morning, and Kevin, Crotty, or Bill, you can step in and say this was basically your understanding. It's for, and Will too, sorry, to reconcile for conversion. That we do not need to set up a daily reconcilement between the 3 systems for tax law.
I'll say that's my understanding. But I always will defer to Kevin Crotty on this one.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well.
I actually think after talking with Tim about what Overlay does, Bill, after our conversation this morning, that this may need to be a daily reconciliation process. And I think when Laura, you set up that meeting to walk through what Overlay does, it'll help shed some light on if we'll need to have a daily reconciliation, and if so, how to facilitate that.
One of the things you want to not do, though, that Overlay does right now is there's an end-of-day recon from Bestmark that comes into AmTrust, and because the order comes into AmTrust first, that recon notices any missing orders, and it goes, hey, if I didn't get orders, go ahead and create them now. You don't want to do that here since the orders are going from SmartLeaf to Charles River.
Yeah, I agree, Lyndon. There's other reconciliation responsibilities that should be operational in nature that the business doesn't want to take on. So we definitely need to potentially loop in some operations folks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to know end of day that you're whole with all of your trade orders. And I don't think that has to wait until a batch process is at 8 o'clock. I think that can be end of close of trading day. I don't know.
Trading is one. Yeah, that's one.
But then the holdings. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is something that we would have to get some resolution on here in the next week or so that we can, if we need to build a daily process, we can get that built here quickly if it's needed for day one.
Hey guys, it's Liz. I've been very quiet and I'm trying. The one question I had in all of that, and maybe this has been discussed, is FRP. So, because how they get their holdings for performance calculations at the end of the day. I don't know if that's something that's been discussed. Because they usually use the Jersey file, I think. So, just kind of throwing that out there.
Would that not be any different than what happens today from AM Trust?
I don't know if with how trades are showing up, if it will be or not. I don't know the answer. I was just raising it as a question.
Yeah, generally speaking, if the trade is going to hit our smart trades, that trade is being booked and is being passed through the system, so shouldn't be any issue.
Good.
So you're saying this is going to be a pass-through from AM Trust to FRP?
Yes, as any other trade.
Yeah, I think part of the discussion before, and we can validate that, is once it hits our system, it falls into the normal process of the data that gets past FRP.
And that's the same thing that would happen with the Advantage accounts, right? That get traded in Charles River.
Is this something that needs to be built into the overall test plan to ensure, as part of this, it lands in the FRP as part of the regression testing?
It's certainly a recommendation. And then we give Liz the warm and fuzzy feeling that it did work and they were getting the data they were expecting.
So who would own this piece to ensure it gets validated in FRP as part of testing?
Would you want to call Andrew Thomas in for that? He's doing the FRP testing, so wouldn't you want to ask him to add it as his script?
Thompson.
I can do that.
I would agree, Linda. I think that does belong with Andrew Thomas.
And he's been a very effective tester to date. He was very successful through Mach 1. He forged forward and made sure that all the right pieces were in place in order for him to be able to test. I think we simply say to him, hey, we've got SmartLeaf accounts that are onboarding. He validated the BBVA accounts for Mach 1. He didn't know that they were SmartLeaf or not SmartLeaf accounts. So it's just a question now of making sure that he has SmartLeaf included as his review.
Lori, could I impose on you to notify Andrew on this testing and include it in the business process?
Of course. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, account renumbering, we just talked about this one. Any additional comments?
Can we change the wording on that? Not to confuse the two, so it's account renumbering file and not confused with the XREF file?
Yep, I can do that. So this one is really around the quarterly processing, not what's going to occur as part of the conversion.
I guess that goes back to you because I think that was your question, right?
Yep.
And that was the discussion we had earlier about whether it was needed or not.
Mm-hmm. All right, and then how will the initial set of models be loaded into SmartLeaf? So these are those best marked models. Is that needs to be a part of the mock conversions as well? how will the initial set be loaded?
I thought those models were coming from Vestmark to IRW, IRW to Smartleaf, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, this is where we want to make sure we're using the right lingo. Are these the models affiliated with third-party SMAs, as Bill just laid out with Vestmark's integration? Or are these the target template models where it's asset allocation, it's configured around asset allocation that is going to be sort of handled through Portfolio Construction's direct interaction with Smartleaf itself?
I thought we were just talking about the manager models for day one because the asset allocation piece has not been implemented into these models yet. And what I heard from Mark Hoffman very consistently throughout is that, that's a day two item where, we'll move these models into the way that PNC manages money over time. But for day one, we're leaving the asset allocation alone and we want to automate the manager models.
Yeah, that's fine. What I'm trying to distill this line item down into is which models are we talking about, because this says understanding was for manual for initial setup and ongoing maintenance until APIs are in place. I'm not sure where API comes into this at all because we're doing FTP in from Vestmark, FTP out to Smartleaf. I don't think we would do any APIs for internal models either. So I'm trying to make sure that this row, everyone's on the same page as far as what models we're talking about, and then obviously subsequent dependencies and approaches.
So I think there's multiple questions here, or that starts the conversation around models. One, we just clarify we're using the manager models, not asset allocation ones. My initial question, and we're using SFTP to send the files between Vestmark to IRW to Smartleaf. Mm-hmm. My initial question here was, are there initial set of models that need to be in Smartleaf day one? Or
can you hold for a second there? Oh, yeah. Just the SFTP out of Vestmark. So Vestmark is already on board and doing that. Is that correct? This is where I keep getting confused because in many instances when we talk about this, there are multiple vendors involved and none of them have any sort of automation in place for it.
We don't know that. I don't think any conversations have been had with Vestmark, and the contract was just signed. Literally, within 24 hours, Matt?
Tracy, yes, the contract was signed within the last 24 hours.
Right. And the contract stated we need these extracts transmitted to XX.
Yeah, the question I think came up this morning was there are multiple files that are coming in from Vestmark. Are those models already included in those existing files, or is this really going to be a brand new extract?
This is brand new. This is not. This doesn't exist today.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I talked to Mukesh about this earlier today. He pinged me as well.
Right. So my only concern with having this as part of day one is hanging our hat on the fact that Vestmark will be able to accommodate a very accelerated, aggressive timeline.
Well, there are active discussions underway. I mean, Will and Raluca and Bill have been engaging with Vestmark, and it sounds like a test file is relatively imminent. Is that right, Will and Bill?
I believe so, yeah. And its functionality, the reporting functionality, it's on the shelf for them, so it's just turning it on for PNC.
Yeah.
And do we have mapping for this?
We haven't seen the sample file, but we know what Smartleaf's file consumption requirements are. So we know what to turn said Vestmark sample file into. We just need to see that source file.
Tracy, I believe part of this is in the set of emails that's been circulating around. Well, I think this is what you sent out.
Yes.
Versus and in there where my confusion came in was uploading models through a bulk API. Mm-hmm. Just maybe terminology. But there was a document attached. So where does that, I guess my question is, where's that API come in? Is that API in existence on the SmartLeaf side?
No.
And you're just handing them a CSV file and they're going to bulk load it in?
Yes.
The bulk, what people are calling bulk API, is essentially a file drop-off. So they would just send the model file to SmartLeaf via SFTP.
Okay.
It should be part of. It should be part of our. For SmartLeaf, we're going to be delivering 3 files out of IRW. It's the holdings and wash sales file that we sent over late last week, and that we're doing some remediation on in the next couple of days, and then also this model holdings file. And the attachment, Steve, is what SmartLeaf needs from us in terms of file layout. So we know that we're going to get this Vestmark file and put it into that format, transform it into that format through the data mapping that's been alluded to, that we'll conduct as soon as possible, obviously, as soon as we get a Vestmark sample. And those are the 3 files IRW out. Yep, go ahead.
That aligns with Tracy's question about having the data that we need to lay it out. Okay.
All right, I'm going to get back, and I apologize for asking this question again. Are there models that need to be in SmartLeaf for day one and needs to, as part of the conversion weekend?
Yes.
So how are we going to get that initial set of models then? What we were just talking about is the daily file that's going to come from Vestmark to SmartLeaf.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Vestmark IRW to SmartLeaf. Mm-hmm. But how are we going to handle the initial set of models? And do we have a process in place that we can use for Mach 2?
Fair question, Tracy. Everyone can just chime in and clean me up here. So the models that we need to deliver for day one are the existing models that SmartLeaf clients are using, the existing managers, and I think there's about 8 or 9 of them. So they're already set up on the SmartLeaf platform based on the existing BBVA integration, and they think they're just going to have a cutover from existing source to new source as part of the Go Live implementation. And once we start getting the Vestmark files delivered through UAT on a nightly basis, we should be able to start, in a UAT connection with SmartLeaf, sending them every day. And that can just be an ongoing parallel run until we're ready to cut over live. At least that's the way I would think about doing it. And this way we have daily testing on an ongoing basis for a number of weeks ahead of the go live.
So the existing models that are in SmartLeaf, they are not in Vestmark today, correct?
Some of them, some of them might be, because there is some overlap. Jared, you probably know better than me what the overlap is, and I think there's where we are.
Okay, so the day one models will not be sourced from Vestmark. They exist already.
No, I think the change there is that we're onboarding the other managers to using Vestmark's manager platform. So Bill has been working with Raluca to get those other managers set up so that they're putting their models into Vestmark, which then counters your point, Kevin, on they'll already be available in the Vestmark platform, and then we can consume them. I think we just probably need to button up when those other managers are on the SmartLeaf, workflow, Bill, and make sure that that's part of our receipt from Vestmark.
Yeah, I believe they're going through all the legal reviews now, so I don't have an ETA on when they'll be up and running in Vestmark.
Yeah, that's right. We won't have those models for a little bit, but we could certainly use the models that exist today that'll be sent over in the test file as a proxy. It's the same idea. And Will, I mean, I thought you were spot on the way you explained it. I guess the only question for SmartLeaf would be, is our assumption correct that the models can be cut over and then incremental changes can be sent to the existing data as it exists when we cut the data over?
You can be sending these models in the model file, which will upload to a model site. And once everything is finalized, in the same way that we have to do a cross-reference of PNC account names, we're going to have to do a cross-reference of these actual model IDs from what's on SmartLeaf now to the new kind of Vestmark models. So there will be a cross-reference at some point, but as soon as you can get that file loading, you can start sending those models. They won't be attached to anything until we do kind of the cross-reference cutover. But you should be able to load models and get feedback that process is working.
Okay. And there's going to be a unique ID that we'll talk about that's relevant for the SMA billing file as well. So we'll talk about what we can provide you guys that would, suffice from a unique ID perspective on our side for different files that are identifying SMA sleeves within SmartLeaf.
Correct.
So Tracy, do you have enough information, or is it still kind of?
So, yeah, thank you, Kevin, for bringing that back. So, am I hearing that as part of Mach 2, or even Conversion Weekend, maybe Mach 2 or before, that we're going to get those models from BBVA SmartLeaf into PNC SmartLeaf?
We'll have a sample, but it won't be necessarily the same models that we'll be using for day one, but we would be able to have a sample file as long as it, contingent upon Vestmark, we'll be able to have a sample file that we can test that it lands at PNC and potentially also test that it goes to SmartLeaf if we get that far in mapping the data fields from Vestmark to PNC and then over to SmartLeaf's requirements.
Yeah, and I want to, and that's correct. And I'll just socialize it a different way. From Vestmark, we have a number of managers where we want models for a variety of purposes. So by us creating this pipeline with Vestmark for the SmartLeaf integration, we're also turning on a ton of capability internally where we'll want non-SmartLeaf managers today to be accessible. So to Jared's point, we can populate the file with managers that maybe aren't SmartLeaf BBVA client centric right now, but we will want to be able to make those managers available to the platform as well to expand the offering to BBVA, current BBVA clients.
So does SmartLeaf have a task for Conversion Weekend to pull those samples over?
Are you saying pull samples over as in
into PNC version of SmartLeaf from BBVA, or how are you going to get those samples into PNC SmartLeaf? Whether they're coming from Vestmark
I think Will, I think you were just ensuring that the delivery method made it, was successful to SmartLeaf. Unless we have the exact 9 managers, I don't think we want to deliver anything into the test region of SmartLeaf until we have the full list or the 9 managers set up in that file extract, if you will.
So if there's one overlap, then we should send the one that's already there, because that would be like a live manager. Sorry, I just spoke over someone. I can pause for a second.
You can send a full entire list of models. It's not going to affect anything because it's going to be in UAT and it's just going to be a separate model site. And until an account points at that model, it's not affecting anything. It's just going to be, here's this model name, and you can look at the contents of the model, and it won't have any deleterious effect on anything else.
Perfect.
So, Conversion Weekend, exactly what does that look like? How will we ensure we have the right models Conversion Weekend?
We're going to validate, so we're going to compare the information that's put into Vestmark. We could, for instance, we could extract it from Vestmark as the managers enter it into Vestmark. We could compare it to what lands at PNC, and then we could compare it to what is available in SmartLeaf. So from a business validation perspective, this is a relatively simple validation step. We're just going to compare the sources to what ends up in SmartLeaf and what lands at PNC.
Okay, so there's nothing, so just to reconfirm, and I apologize, is nothing is needed for Mach 2, that this is out of scope for models, of loading any models in.
I think that's
for Mach
fair.
2.
I think that's fair, Tracy, but we'll likely do I think as Chris Ropar has been calling it, like our own independent testing that we can fold into mocks later on. So we're not gonna wait for Mach 3, let's say, to get model sample files over to SmartLeaf. We're gonna send those just as soon as we can create one with the source files from Vestmark and the data mapping that we need to do to SmartLeaf file specifications.
So what I would say is that's part of the overall testing of SmartLeaf then, and not required for mocks. So we'll just need to make sure.
Not required for Mach 2 weekend. Again, I think we need to be very clear with folks. Like a Mach 2 is a 5-week cycle or a 4-week cycle. It's a 4-week time frame, let's put it that way, where you have Mach 2 conversion. So you've got a data conversion on the weekend. Boom, what do you need to do for data conversion? And then all those other fun things that you need to test as part of the overall SmartLeaf integration and such, that happens through the course of that Mach 2 timeframe. Yeah, so not needed for conversion weekend, not needed as a data conversion point, but needed as a general. And I think what I heard Will say was it might not be ready on August 15th, but it might be ready on August 26th. And as they know it's ready, they'll spin up some testing around it.
Okay. All right, I know we're at time here, so we'll pick back up on the last one. And yes, I said this incorrectly. It's the billing fees to on air. So we can have that discussion next time. Matt, anything else as we close out the...
How are we doing with the mapping of the trading file between SmartLeaf and IRW and Charles River? SmartLeaf's delivering it in Charles River format, correct?
We just got the spec and it's being evaluated.
Okay.
It's likely we'll need to have a separate call to kind of go over the data elements.
Yep. Just want to make sure we don't lose sight of that and that you get the support you need when you do that.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely critical.
Hey, Bob, it's Bill Minone. If you need to have that call with Charles River specifically, just let me know and we'll get it set up. We have a recurring call with them on Tuesdays. We can certainly include anyone from SmartLeaf in that discussion too.
So do you think we have a meeting with them tomorrow? I mean, do we want to include Bob in that one there?
Do we have one tomorrow? Okay.
Well, yeah, I set up a separate one. So we're meeting with Charles River twice a week now just to keep the momentum going.
If you'd like to send an invite, that'd be great, and I'll ask some of the technical folks to join us.
Okay.
What time is that meeting?
Yeah, somebody would ask me that. 8:30.
8:30 Eastern time?
Yes.
Okay, early.
Yeah, well, we have the developer from Charles River is in a different country and time zone. We have to accommodate him, so this would be at his end of day, first thing in the morning. Really, it's like 8, I think it's 7 or 8 o'clock at night for him, though.
Uh-huh.
Are you able to make that? Is that too early? I don't know what time zone you're in.
Bob, I just forwarded to you. If you can attend, or any of your colleagues, feel free to share.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think we're all awake. It's just.
Yeah, I gotta remember to cover everybody's time zone here. All right. Any other questions? Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your feedback on all these questions, and I'm sure there'll be more for our next meeting.
Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.